Picture this, August 8th, 2023, Lahaina, Maui. The air smells like burning wood mixed with something chemical and wrong. Sirens wail in the distance, drowned out by car horns and shouting. Ash is starting to fall like gray snow. Your neighbor, the guy who did 2 tours in Iraq, is standing on his porch drinking coffee while everyone else on the block is throwing suitcases into cars and screaming at their kids to hurry up. Someone's yelling that the entire island is burning. Someone else is saying the military is evacuating everyone within the hour. Facebook is exploding with videos of flames and posts claiming thousands are already dead. And this guy, this veteran, he's just watching, listening to the wind direction, noting which way the smoke is actually moving versus where people say it's coming from. You think he's lost his mind, but here's what's happening inside his head that could save your life. He knows the first 72 hours of disaster reporting are mostly fiction, and the decisions you make right now, based on information you think is verified, will determine whether you evacuate into a death trap or survive by staying calm while everyone else runs. Let me take you inside what actually happened in Lahaina during those first 6 hours, because this is the pattern that repeats in every disaster, and once you see it clearly, you'll never trust breaking news the same way again. The fires start around midday. By 3 p.m., cell service is degrading but still functional. By 3:30 p.m., the first videos hit social media, flames consuming a building, smoke visible from the resort areas. Within minutes, the information environment explodes. Someone posts that the entire west side of Maui is gone. Another account claims thousands are dead. A tourist 12 miles away says they heard all airports are shut down. A local resident shares that drinking water is contaminated. Someone warns that a second wave of fires is coming from the mountains and everyone needs to drive to the coast immediately. Another post says absolutely do not go to the coast because roads are blocked and you'll be trapped. Would you have known which report to trust if every screen around you was screaming different versions of the same emergency? Here's what makes this lethal. Every person sharing this information genuinely believes they're helping. They're terrified, seeing smoke, hearing sirens, trying to warn others. But each person reports from their limited perspective and fills in gaps with assumption and terror. The guy who says the west side is gone can see flames in 2 directions, and his brain extrapolates total destruction. The contaminated water warning came from someone who assumed fires near infrastructure means contamination. By 5 p.m., news outlets pick up social media reports because they need content, and officials are overwhelmed. By 6 p.m., mainstream news is citing each other, quoting witnesses, and false reports have been laundered through enough sources to appear confirmed. Now here's where people died. One family, tourists staying north of Lahaina, saw Facebook posts saying fires were spreading north and the southern coastal road was the only safe evacuation route. They loaded their car, buckled their 2 kids into the back seat, and headed south on Honopialani Highway at 4 p.m. That road became a corridor of death. Flames on both sides, abandoned cars blocking lanes, smoke so thick you couldn't see 10 feet. Temperature inside their car climbed over 120 degrees. Their 5-year-old was crying that she couldn't breathe. They survived by abandoning the car and running into the ocean, staying submerged for 4 hours while their skin blistered from radiant heat. Their rental property never burned. The fire never spread north. They almost died because they trusted information that felt verified by consensus. Their children still have nightmares about the ocean. Another group of residents stayed home because early official statements said fires were contained and evacuation roads were too dangerous. The containment failed. Fire jumped barriers and moved faster than predicted. They barely escaped with minutes to spare, driving through flames with clothes soaked in water, their elderly neighbor having a heart attack in the back seat. Both groups made rational decisions based on the best available information. Both nearly died because that information was fiction. So what did the veterans on Maui do differently? They didn't ignore warnings, but they didn't immediately act either. They walked outside and looked at the sky themselves. They smelled the air and identified type of smoke. They checked which direction wind was actually blowing. They checked official emergency management websites, not Facebook or news sites. They called friends in different parts of the island to triangulate what was happening where. And here's the critical part. They prepared to evacuate immediately. Cars loaded with emergency supplies already ready, documents grabbed, routes planned. But they didn't actually leave until they had direct sensory confirmation or secondary verification from official channels. They compressed response time to near zero while buying precious minutes for information to clarify. That gap between preparation and commitment made the difference between rational evacuation and panicked flight into greater danger. Let me show you how this kills people in predictable ways. Take social media intelligence failure. Someone films flooding and posts, "The whole city is underwater, get out now." That video shows real water, real danger. The problem is scope. It's actually 3 blocks near a backed-up storm drain. But the video goes viral. News embeds it with headlines about citywide flooding. Suddenly, everyone believes the entire metro area is underwater when the flood zone is smaller than a shopping mall. You make evacuation decisions based on a false mental map. You think you need to drive 50 miles inland. You join a highway exodus of 10,000 people who made the same calculation. You run out of gas in gridlocked traffic with kids crying, no cell signal, no water, and your house was never in danger. Consider official timeline trust that turns lethal. Authorities announce the chemical plant fire is contained and sheltering in place is safe. What they mean is that based on current conditions, sheltering is recommended at this moment. But weather changes, a tank ruptures, wind shifts and carries toxic smoke toward residential areas. What was safe an hour ago now sends people to emergency rooms. Families who treated shelter in place as permanent guidance rather than conditional advice end up hospitalized because they stopped monitoring. The deadliest trap is consensus accuracy confusion. October 1st, 2017, Las Vegas shooting. Within 30 minutes, every news outlet confidently reports multiple shooters at multiple hotels across the Strip. Police scanner traffic seems to confirm it. Witnesses call in from different locations. The consensus is overwhelming. It's completely wrong. One shooter, one hotel, one room. But that false consensus sent police resources to wrong locations while the actual shooter continued firing. It told thousands they were in active fire zones when they were safe, causing stampedes and panic injuries. The correction came hours later, but damage was done. Then there's ego-driven decision lock-in. You evacuate based on early reports, you're on the road, new information suggests you overreacted or chose the wrong route. Instead of adapting, you double down because admitting you acted on bad information feels like failure. This is how people drive 300 miles in the wrong direction during hurricanes, burning fuel and time they needed, getting stranded in worse weather, because turning around feels like weakness. Let me tell you about a Marine in California wildfire country, because his response during the Tubbs fire shows exactly what this looks like. October 8th, fire breaks out north of San Francisco, moving fast, middle of the night, wind-driven. Within an hour, social media is apocalyptic. Entire towns gone, fire jumping highways, evacuate south immediately or be cut off forever. His neighbors are loading cars at 2 a.m., engines running, kids in pajamas being thrown into vehicles. He goes outside, smells the air to identify type of smoke, looks at the sky to see where glow actually originates, checks wind direction with a wetted finger, pulls up official CAL FIRE incident map, not news websites. The fire is 15 miles north, moving northeast with wind. His house is southeast. Based on wind and topography, immediate threat to his location is near zero.
He doesn't evacuate, but prepares to evacuate within 15 minutes if conditions change. He loads the truck with always ready gear, preps water, sets alarms to check every 2 hours, monitors official channels and wind. By morning, fire moved exactly where topography and wind predicted, away from his area. The neighbors who evacuated south got stuck in gridlock on Highway 101 for 8 hours. Many ran out of gas. Several ended up in areas actually threatened by secondary fires along evacuation routes. Elderly passengers had medical emergencies. His decision looked lucky from outside, but from inside, it was pattern recognition and information discipline. Here's how he learned this. Afghanistan. His unit planned an operation based on intelligence saying a compound was a weapons cache, no civilians. They breach at dawn. The compound is full of sleeping families, no weapons. Intel was wrong because the source reported third-hand information nobody had time to verify. After multiple similar experiences, it became doctrine. Early reports are hypotheses, not facts. Single-source intelligence isn't actionable for irreversible decisions. You prepare for what you're told, but verify before committing. Now let me show you exactly how to verify information when everything is chaos. Build your information hierarchy today. Identify 3 sources you'll check in this order when crisis hits: your county emergency management official website and social media, your regional National Weather Service office, and 1 local news outlet with proven accuracy. Not national news reporting from 1,000 miles away, not random social media. Write down these sources with direct links. Put them in phone favorites. When disaster hits, ignore everything else until you've checked these 3 in order. This eliminates 90% of rumor exposure. Apply the degrees of separation test to every piece of information. Did the person telling you this see it themselves or hear it from someone else? Every link degrades accuracy exponentially. I saw the bridge collapse is data. My cousin's friend heard the bridge collapsed is noise. Social media posts starting with "I'm hearing reports" are contagion, not information. Cross-reference across information types, not just sources saying the same thing. 5 news channels reporting an evacuation order doesn't confirm anything if they're citing each other. Check the actual official emergency website. Look for physical evidence. Are emergency vehicles moving toward the incident or away? Can you hear sirens that match reported urgency? See smoke that aligns with reports. If words say one thing and observable reality says another, trust your senses. Here's a decision protocol that works. When you receive alarming information demanding action, ask, if I do nothing for the next 12 to 24 hours except monitor and prepare, what's the actual worst-case outcome? If manageable, wait for information to clarify. If unacceptable, act, but assume information might be wrong. Reports say a dam is failing and your area will flood in 2 hours. Move critical items upstairs immediately. Load car with evacuation supplies. Check official dam monitoring sites. Monitor for secondary confirmation. Sirens, emergency vehicles, neighbors with official information access. If you get confirmation or see water rising, leave instantly. If neither, after 30 minutes of monitoring, stay ready but hold position. You've lost nothing preparing, but haven't committed to evacuation that might be more dangerous if the report is false. Now I need to tell you about New Orleans and the Superdome, because this is the most important case study in how disaster misinformation warps reality systemically. Hurricane Katrina, August 2005. The Superdome becomes emergency shelter. Conditions are terrible. No power, limited water, oppressive heat, tens of thousands in extreme stress. Then reports spread through media. Murders, rapes, bodies stacked in freezers, gangs, complete civilization breakdown. News anchors report this as fact. Officials reference it in congressional testimony. National Guard is briefed they're entering a combat zone. Here's what actually happened, confirmed by investigation. 4 people died in the Superdome during the entire crisis. 1 overdose, 1 suicide, 2 natural causes from heat and stress. There were no murders. No mass rapes were substantiated. Bodies in freezers was fabricated. Investigations found the majority of atrocity reports were exaggerations, racist assumptions about what happens when you confine poor Black people, or pure fantasy that confirmed existing fears. But those false reports delayed rescue operations because responders believed they needed tactical support. They diverted National Guard from actual rescue to provide security against non-existent threats. They shaped how the nation perceives survivors, not as disaster victims deserving help, but as dangerous criminals needing control first. The false narrative persists today, despite overwhelming evidence it was fiction. That's how powerful disaster misinformation becomes. It spreads faster, embeds deeper, and resists correction better than truth because it triggers primal fear responses. The boring, accurate story, desperate people mostly helped each other, can't compete with dramatic false stories of breakdown that confirm our worst assumptions. Here's your action plan. Create a document titled Household Disaster Information Protocol. Section 1, Trusted Sources. List 3 with direct links. Example, County Emergency Management Official Accounts, National Weather Service Regional Office, and 1 local news outlet with proven accuracy. Section 2, Decision Thresholds. For each realistic threat, write specific triggers. Wildfire? Evacuate if official order verified, or flames within 1 mile, or heavy smoke and ash falling. Chemical incident? Shelter unless we smell chemicals or see toxic smoke, then evacuate perpendicular to wind. Earthquake? Secure area, shut off gas if leak detected, and don't re-enter damaged buildings. Section 3, Preparation Actions. Load pre-packed go bags, fill gas tank, grab documents, pack 3 days supplies, identify 2 route options. Section 4, Reality Checks. If reservoir failing, should see emergency vehicles at the dam, evacuation sirens, official water authority updates. If none visible, maintain skepticism. Section 5, Family Communication. Who to contact, in what order, and using what methods if cell networks fail. Pre-arrange out-of-area relay contact. Practice this protocol once before you need it. When crisis hits, run this system instead of making fear-driven decisions based on whatever information screams loudest. That veteran on the porch wasn't calmer because he's braver. He was calmer because he followed a process that doesn't require emotional assessment. The process runs regardless of fear level. Check sources in order, apply verification tests, prepare for worst case, monitor for confirmation, and execute when threshold crossed. The terror might be identical to yours. The response is systematic rather than reactive. Veterans never trust first reports not from cynicism, but from pattern recognition earned through consequences. Study past disasters right now. Pull up first 72 hours of Camp Fire, Hurricane Harvey, Texas grid failure coverage. Compared to investigative journalism published months later, you'll see the pattern immediately. Exaggerated death tolls, misidentified causes, reports of breakdown that never happened, evacuation routes reported clear that were death traps. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you can't unsee it, you'll never make survival decisions based on breaking news again. You'll wait, you'll verify, you'll prepare.